What's up, guys, and welcome back to TechPlant. Today I'm going to show you how we got this giant pothos. Let's check it out. Alright, so in July of 2021, PottedPlantDreams had sent me some really awesome plant mail, and in that plant mail was this big, beautiful node. Now, you probably already read the title, but this is a pothos node, and it is absolutely huge. Here, just to really illustrate the exact size of this thing, because I know you can kind of tell with my hands and everything, but here is your regular pothos node that you'd get in a regular potted plant that you'd find at like a big box store or probably growing in your own home. And you can see the difference is huge. Just the aerial roots on this thing are darn near thicker than the normal pothos node. I mean, this thing is massive. Lucky for us too, there was already a few growths starting to poke out on this node, so it shouldn't be too long for it to actually start to propagate and become a plant of its own. So just to start things off, I threw it in one of my propagation bins, and it's just sphagnum moss with some perlite and a little bit of leca, kind of all mixed in there, and it just sits in high humidity. So that's how we start this off, and over time, let's see how it goes. Alright, so about 10 days has passed since we threw it in this propagation bin. If you've watched my previous propagation video, you've seen how wild this thing has gotten as far as the bin, but let's take a look at the node. Right off the bat, you can really see in that short amount of time, it has put out a tremendous amount of growth. There must be a lot of energy in this thing because it is growing quick. I'm not too sure about the roots of this thing, but the node is growing in the new growth, so we should have a new plant soon. Alright, we are at about a month from receiving this node, and you can see it's pretty much unignorable at this point. The leaf has opened up, it's absolutely huge, and I'm just blown away by this thing. It started to root pretty darn good in the bin actually, and I had to pry a lot of the stuff off, but none of the roots are crazy big. I did notice that the second growth is starting to grow, so I do want to separate these things, but check out the big difference in leaves. Here's some regular pothos compared to the very first leaf out of this node, and the difference is incredible. And the leaf is like almost rubbery, and it's just thick, and it's awesome. It's actually quite fun to play with compared to regular pothos because it's just so weird. As you heard me say earlier, there is a second growth on this node, so I do want to cut it in half and pot both of them up. But a razor or a kitchen knife are not going to work for this thing. This thing is solid. So time to bring out the big guns, and we're going to use a Sawzall just to cut through this thing. It seems ridiculous, but trust me, it's necessary. This is by far the funnest and most funny experience I've had with plants. This thing is just so ridiculous, and it just feels so out of place here in my basement. So I just mixed up a pretty airy mix. I use this with a lot of my aeroids, and a lot of times it's pretty random, but there's some bark in here, perlite, some soil. I mean, there's a little bit of everything, but it's very airy and it drains pretty well, and that should do pretty darn good for our pothos. Now, because this thing's quite woody and it probably is pretty prone to rot, I'm just going to set it on top of the soil for the most part, and I'm trying to pile up the soil on the back side of this thing so it can start climbing right away. I don't want to lose these massive leaves, and I want this thing to keep maturing and keep on getting bigger and bigger because this is only a portion of the potential of this thing. It can get massive. So I'm testing out some of my 3D printed moss poles just to try and get it to climb up that, and I think that'll do the trick. The other node isn't quite as far along, so I'm just going to set it in there. We don't need a moss pole at this point because we don't even have a leaf, and so there's going to be no like new outer roots that are going to root into anything, so it's just going to chill for now. Alright, jumping ahead almost 4 entire months since we received this node. It was really slow growing actually. After I transplanted it, it really seemed to be shocked, and it took forever to put out a really small leaf and really did absolutely nothing after that. But here we are now, 4 months later. Let's check it out. I actually started to lose hope with this just because the second leaf was very small and underwhelming, and growth pretty much came to a halt. I think when I cut it up and transplanted it, I really shocked it and slowed it down. And I took it straight out of the humidity and just left it in regular growing conditions. Looking at the actual node though, it's really changed a lot since the first time we saw it. It's like almost shriveled like a raisin, very cracked, very dry, and very woody. I don't think there's much life in it at this point, and pretty much everything living is on the exterior of it and is the plant that you're seeing. Alright, almost a month has passed and the leaf has come out and is getting bigger. It's not totally hardened off yet, but holy cats guys, it's absolutely huge, rubbery, beautiful. It's just awesome. This thing is definitely back on track. I'm starting to prepare the next half of this moss pole, and hopefully we can start to get to climb and get even more mature. Because again, this leaf is probably only a quarter of its max size, if not only a fifth. They get massive, and that's what I'm shooting for with this plant. But so far, so good. It's really growing well. Taking a look at the other one though, that one's really lagged behind. I guess maybe because it's always been smaller from the start. Maybe it didn't have as much energy, but it's hanging in there. So hopefully we'll see it wake up from its maybe dormancy. I'm not really sure. It's shock, but it hasn't done too much, but I can see a little progress. Let's wait a little longer and check on things. Alright guys, we are 6 months from the initial receiving of this node, and it is beautiful. The leaf has finally hardened off, and it is massive. It is way bigger than the first one, the second one, and look at it compared to regular pothos. I mean, it's insane. The size is so awesome. I hope you guys like this video and seeing the growth from this crazy size node to where it's at now, and I hope you guys stay tuned too, because I'm going to be posting more updates and hopefully I can get this to its massive adult size. We shall see. Only time will tell. Well guys, that pretty much sums up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was pretty cool to see what a giant pothos node actually looks like and to see what some of the first emerging leaves look like. They were absolutely huge and I was blown away by them. There is a new one developing that might be even twice the size of the one you just saw, but we'll have to wait for time to tell, and I will definitely do an update on this plant just to keep you guys informed. Hope you guys liked it, and as always, may your plants grow strong and healthy. I'll see you next time.